Sanbonani Dumelang Molweni. Welcome back to another episode on Sia's Couch. Today we're joined by Tlo Kiyenzi, a representative from Metropolitan. He'll be speaking to us about our saving habits as a country. Dede Tlo, welcome to the episode.
Thank you very much.
So when we talk about saving, how can low-income earners save best when we are in this tough economic time we are in as a country? There's high inflation, there's high food prices, there's high petrol prices, so there's a lot of, everything's high except people's income. So how should people save?
Thank you. I think the reality is that issues of finances differ from one person to the other. Even the low-income earners have got different needs and different responsibilities in terms of their finances. Therefore, there might not necessarily be a blanket approach in terms of how. But I think what becomes important is that all of them, they need to have some form of a financial plan or a goal that they have. And I think that goal in the main or the plan talks to what is it that they want to save the money for. And I think once you've got that in mind, for me, it doesn't matter whether you are a low-income earner or a high-income earner. What becomes important is what is your financial goal? Because we often say, as Metropolitan, we want to help our client to achieve their financial life goal. So that is important, that even the low-income earners, they've got their financial goals that they are working towards. So be the small income that they might, or the small income they might be having, what becomes important to say, they can always start saving as little as 50 Rand, as 100 Rand. And I think for me, that is important. But the second thing, given the economic climate or the economic challenges of our country and the high unemployment rate, the second important thing that I think they ought to be doing is start scaling down on the things that they spend money on. I think that becomes important because there are certain things that you and I would probably spend money on which you do not necessarily need, is the one. So I think it's that tough choice between the needs and the want, which means what are the things that you can live without and what are the things that you cannot live without. So you then start saying, with the little that I have, can I spend that money on the things that I need? And I think the things that you need is like providing education for your kids. That will compel you to save so that you don't depend on the state to educate your kids.
I think it's a tough toss-up with the wants and the needs. Sometimes
Absolutely.
we want to need things.
Yeah.
We want to need them when we don't really need them at all.
Absolutely.
So talk to us about the tips, or rather the tools South Africans can use in their efforts of being financially savvy or financially literate. So what tools could you give us? Is it discipline, maybe?
Well, I think, the tools that we ought to be having, I think discipline is paramount, because for you to be able to consistently put money aside, you require discipline. And the second thing, again, I think it's self-control. You ought to be able to say, in terms of if you've got debts, one of the things that you ought to be doing, you must start paying off debts that carries the highest interest. Because in that way, if you pay the debts that carries the highest interest, once you are done with that, there will be a relief, a financial relief, and there will be some huge savings on your part. And I think the other important thing, I think it's always to say it is never late. I think that is very important, because saving has got nothing to do with your age. You can start saving when you are 50, you can start saving when you are 55, you can start saving when you start working. So I think there's often this notion that people think it is too late to start. It is never late. I think it's important to do that.
Okay, yeah. I think you're right. A lot of people think, I've already messed up. I'm in my 40s now, and
it's never late.
It's never late.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier on people starting with debts that have the highest interest. And is it also advisable to start with the smallest debts to pay them off, and then the money goes to the next one, onto the next, and onto the next?
Well, the idea here is if you start with the debts that carries the highest interest rate, you basically, because the smaller debts doesn't carry much higher interest rates. So you want to reduce that liability that you continue to pay on a monthly basis. If you can, of course you can, but I think the advice would be if you can reduce or charge down your debts that carries the highest interest rate, that's the best route to go. But you can, I mean, the choice at the end of the day, it is the individual's choice. But if you start with those ones, you would have a huge savings, a huge financial relief.
Metropolitan tells us that Sisonke in saving, so we want to know that in our efforts to save money, how do we manage the debts that we are already in without further indebting ourselves? Because you're trying to save money, but you also want to get rid of the debt. It's a lot in that debt law.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's, I mean, we always say together we can as Metropolitan. I think the issue of how do we begin to manage the debts, and I think again is the choice, is that toss up to say, are we getting to the debts that we really need? I think it's that choice again to say, some of the debts, we should be trying to get into the debts that are helping us to build assets, as opposed to be forever being liable to continuously service those debts. I think if we can move towards the debts that are helping us to either create assets for the future, I think that's the best way to go.
Is being debt-free really possible? Considering our financial and our economic climate as a country?
I think for me, if you've got debts that gives you a financial freedom, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's important that the debts that you have, you are ultimately building an investment future for you and your family. Those debts are fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you said there are good debts.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And then one last thing before we let you go, what are some of the products that you can tell us about from Metropolitan that make this saving doable?
I think as Metropolitan, there's a number of vehicles that we use where you can invest. We have got the tax-free savings kit. We have got the normal unit trust that you can buy from us. We have got the Metropolitan savings product that you can save for a short term, you can save for a long term, and of course even our risk benefits are a form of savings, because you are using that to cover for the unforeseen circumstances. I mean, a funeral product is a savings product. A retirement annuity is a savings product. A life and disability product is a savings product, as much as they are packaged under the risk offerings, but in themselves, they are a form of savings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it, folks. These are different types of products that you can use to save, and it is possible to have good debt. Ntate, thank you so much for your time, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Sia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time on Sia's Couch, save those randelas.